Welcome back to our daily show. Here's CJ. We do not need news in the 10 o'clock hour of a Wednesday. We have a familiar face to so many joining us again in the 618. Craig Hentrich, NFL Hall of Famer and Marquette Catholic alumni, joining us now by Zoom. How are we doing this morning, sir?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Well, we talked a couple of days ago, and before we get into all the fun of the Alton area growing up and playing for Marquette, I came across your Master Your Punting and Kicking online courses. And Craig, if I would have made the smart decision of kicking for the full 4 years in high school, I think that my trajectory would be a little bit different. And it's one thing I kick myself for, no pun intended, literally every day about not doing.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's fun while you're doing it, but afterwards it can wear on your body a little bit. So I'm feeling it a little bit now.
I bet. And, before we go into everything else, take me into how you developed Master Your Punting and Kicking, because this is a great opportunity for so many younger athletes to really learn the correct way to do this.
Yeah, so it kind of started just after I retired. I started doing punting and kicking lessons, and really struggled with being on the field for so long, staying on those fields for 6-8 hours a day, and just kind of wore me down. And so I kind of took a break from it and really figured out a way to try to teach online. And so what I've kind of figured out through the system, the punting and kicking system these days, is that a lot of the camps that these kids are going to are really rankings-based camps. They don't get a lot of learning, a lot of teaching at those camps, just for the simple fact there's so many kids in these camps. And so you don't get a lot of personal attention, and kids kind of leave there feeling that they really didn't get much help. They just got ranked. Mm-hmm. And so I decided to try to figure out a way to teach online where I can do a more personalized approach, and give these kids the time they need to learn the actual knowledge and what it takes to be a good punter and kicker.
And, there's so much I could only imagine what really goes into, really mastering those skills. Because, Greg, I'm just going to be honest with you. I was told to kick the ball far and long and get it up in the air as high as you could, because I had no formal training. And to really learn from an NFL Hall of Famer, and not to patronize you, but someone who really did this for so long and really so successfully, this is a win-win for so many prospective kickers out there to really learn the right way.
Well, I appreciate that. And yes, it's way more intricate than people make it out to be. I can teach a 2 or 3 day camp solely on punting, 2 or 3 day camp solely on kicking. So there's so many details that people don't really realize and know about, that they can maybe tweak or change that could make them a better punter and kicker. And that's what I aim to do.
And you can find out more information at home by going to RiverBender.com. That's on the bottom of the screen, RiverBender.com. Put your email address in and get signed up and really be involved. Now, I got to ask about some of the short videos I've been seeing on Facebook. These are pretty good. Is the family working with you on this a bit and really developing into your guys' own thing?
Yeah, my wife and I do a lot of the video work together, and it's been fun working with her. She's kind of my boss, which goes beyond kicking and punting. But also my son Nate is also a aspiring kicker and punter. He's a freshman in high school, and so we've kind of used him a little bit in our videos to try to show his progress.
What's Nate's review on the course? Pretty positive.
He's pretty good. He's got some really good kicking talent because he was a soccer player growing up, kind of like I was. Mm-hmm. The punting's a whole different beast, but that's something we're going to be working on this off season and hopefully get him ready for this season.
That's really interesting. I didn't know you were a soccer player because I was talking. I played my whole life growing up with Riley Patterson, who now kicks over in Florida. I believe for the Jaguars, if I remember off the top of my head. But it seems like a lot of soccer players really can find some promise in a career in kicking, and that's interesting just hearing you say that.
Well, it's two totally different things. Uh-huh. I mean, so if you think about a field goal, everything is angles, and soccer style is coming at an angle to the ball, and punting is all straight lines, and so it's totally different muscle groups that you're using. And just totally different technique. And so I was very, very fortunate to be able to do both and be able to teach both now that I've lasted this long through in the NFL.
Absolutely. And let's get to the playing days at Marquette, because you and I have a bunch of folks going, CJ, let's talk about the good stuff real quick. I heard a story that you would kick barefoot up behind St. Mary's at that park to practice. Is that true? Did you kick barefoot?
I didn't kick bare. I tried it one time, and that was about the last time I did it. But no, I used to kick behind North Middle School, was where my dad and I and my brother used to go up and kind of battle it out. So behind North Junior was my big place to kick.
And how did you find kicking? Did it find you, or did you find it?
Well, growing up, my brother, who was 4 years older than me, his name's Bart. He's 4 years older than me, and he and I used to go out and play soccer together. And my dad built a soccer goal in our side yard. And we got bored one day kicking soccer balls in it, so we decided to go get a football and kick it over it. And so we would have competitions who could get further back, and we would kick them over the goalpost and then punt them back to my dad. And so that's how I got started doing both. And it really turned into a competition between my brother and I.
And it honestly seems like a great way to really get better without really realizing what you're doing with having that friendly well, not friendly if it's with your brother. I'm sure that's a competition, but to have that, it still progresses and propels you to move forward.
Well, I'm a very big goal-oriented guy, and so every day I'd go out, I'd try to beat yesterday's long field goal, and just being that competitive, and against my brother as well, who was much bigger and stronger than me, that really made me want a little bit more and made me work a little bit harder. And so that's kind of how I got started with all of it.
That's really interesting. And then fast forwarding just to your playing days at Marquette, you guys were able to do some really good things and had some great players a part of the programs. If you could take me through a few of the years, I know that there's some of the games that stick out. I've heard a few of them when you were back in town, I think maybe 10 years ago, for a recognition night, or you were there with the team, and just hearing some of those stories, man, that's some good stuff.
Yeah, I was so fortunate and blessed to be able to play with such great players and play under great coaches. Coach Waters, Coach Slaughter, Coach King was my freshman coach. Played with some unbelievable athletes. One actually in my class, John Doolin, actually got a scholarship to Vanderbilt to play football. And so we had some really, really good players that we just had a whole lot of fun and played well together. It was just a team-oriented team. There was no selfish people on the team. And I think that's what made us good. That coupled with great coaching.
Now, were there ever times when you made the jump to the NFL and you're sitting there and you're going through, whether it's training or you're going through a game, and you think back at some of the things that Slaughter or Walters told you about, and you're going, "Yep, damn, it's still true today"?
Yeah, there's commonalities between high school and the NFL. Trust me. And it's all about hard work. It's about perseverance, about overcoming adversity, and all these things that you hear about that are kind of cliches in the NFL. But it's so true that that's what you got to do to succeed. Is you got to overcome the adversity and really just be in the right place at the right time. And that's I was very, very fortunate to be able to do that.
100% over. And then it's kind of funny, Craig. I was talking to the boss upstairs a couple of days ago, and he goes, "What do you got going on the show?" And I go, "I don't know. I got your cousin stopping by." And just to hear that, but really, your guys' family, in town is really well known, and really to have a spinoff to where you're going and being successful, and now over in Franklin, it's got to be cool to see the Hentrich name spreading around and doing some great stuff in different facets of life.
It is, and we're so blessed and to have a great family and a big family.
Yeah.
And a lot of successful people who've worked hard and kind of made a name for themselves, and we're a very, very fortunate family.
And getting back, Craig, as we're just talking a little bit more about how you train and how your online courses work, is it one of these where you're going to get a set of videos? Is it a series, or how does that break down in a week-to-week basis if I'm a part of the Master Your Punting and Kicking courses?
Yeah, so it can go several different ways. The more personal stuff, the on-the-field stuff, is more limited to on-field stuff, but you get a lot more of the personalized videos and film breakdowns and things like that. If it's something very basic that you want, there's online videos that take you through the process of both punting and kicking step by step, and I'm able to really explain the intricacies of each step and really teach the kids how to coach themselves. And I think that's the key to success in punting and kicking is being able to self-coach, because if you can self-coach, you can make adjustments yourself and not have to rely on a kicking coach of some sort to fix you. And when you get in a game, these kicking coaches may not be there with you, so you got to learn how to make adjustments on the run. And I think that's the key to great kickers and punters.
I 100% agree with that. And with that being said, being able to tweak on the fly, I'm sure, and being able to coach yourself is one of the talents or traits of so many that make it, whether it's in the NFL or name a professional sports league. I'm sure that's what separates, that top tier from the rest.
Well, yeah, if your coaches can trust you, you're going to be there for a long time, and they trust you by you not having two or three bad punts in a row. But if you do have a bad punt, you fix it and you succeed on the next one, and that's the key to gaining trust of your coach and to longevity.
Well, and also on top of this, just me, just kind of reliving some thoughts that I had, kind of learning this. I always, the first thing I thought of is the game's on the line, you're down by one, and you got a field goal to win it. Is that where it starts, or where does the real focus start? Because, we always think about the bottom of the ninth, bases loaded scenario, but, just for, a blanket statement, kind of just to get the ball rolling for some of the kickers out there that are, probably watching this, what's the first step in really visualizing the game? Because I don't think it starts at the end. Does it start even before the game?
Well, it does. And I was very, very fortunate to be able to play at Notre Dame for 4 years under Coach Lou Holtz. Coach Holtz was a huge influence on my life and really spoke life into me for 4 years. And he used to always tell us as kickers, and really as any athlete, pressure is a feeling you get when you're not confident in your abilities. And it's so true if you think about it. If you're so confident, really, where is the pressure? Like, the goalposts don't get any narrower 2 seconds as they were with 1 minute, or the opening kick of the game. And so if you're really confident in what you're doing and you trust the process, you trust your training, you trust the drills that you've done, there really is no pressure in that situation.
Really interesting. And I don't know if you're reading my mind, but I had a Holtz question at the end of this. I was going to wait a little bit, and we'll keep that one for later, because I could only imagine playing for a legend, some of the stories. But Craig, getting back just to life overall and just your career, was there ever a moment in a game where all of a sudden it all clicked, or did you have that aha moment, whether not really in the NFL but just in general, where all of a sudden all the things you were working on really made sense? Because I know that's a disconnect for a lot of younger players, is maybe portions of it click, but it all doesn't come together in one, at one moment.
Yeah, it doesn't come together in one moment, because what we do is so specialized and it happens so fast. For instance, from the time I catch a punt snap to the time it comes off my foot is about 1.2 to 1.4 seconds. Wow. And so there's really not a lot of time to think about a whole lot in that amount of time. And so you really have to train your body in the specifics so that you really don't have to think about it anymore and your mind is clear. And so confidence for me always was, if I did one thing right, I was going to succeed at this punt. And for me, that was, if my ball, when I dropped it, if the nose didn't go down on it, I was going to kill this punt. I wasn't thinking about steps. I wasn't thinking about catching the ball. I wasn't thinking about anything other than that. And so you have to train so hard and so often that the other things just kind of leave your mind, and you think about this one thing, and that's why it's so specialized.
And then on top of that too, just following that conversation briefly, Craig, is the fact that I think short-term memory is so invaluable in sports, because I've always and just talking with sports psychologists, it's great to visualize, but it's also great to, once it's done, you retain it, but you move on and you can't dwell on it. Whenever you're kicking and things don't go well, how important is it to have that I don't want to say tunnel vision, but that short-term memory of, let's get the next one, let's get back out there?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to Coach Holtz again. Another quote by Coach Holtz, because, again, he was so influential in my life. He used to always say that what the mind perceives, the body will achieve. And so he used to really go over visualization with us so much, and we'd have actually, he called it relaxation periods, where he would sit us all as a team in a banquet room the night before a game and help us visualize the big play that we're going to make in the game the next day, and overcoming anything that happens that's bad. And that just stuck with me throughout my whole career.
That's just incredible. I mean, that's so cool, because it's so fascinating to me. I think that so much of our athletes, in our area, we focus on getting fit and all that, which is important in learning, but also how do we deal with it too, and how do we prepare, and how do we, move past hurdles in the game. And that's very fascinating, hearing that from a coach such as Coach Holtz.
Well, the mind is a powerful thing, and he made us understand that very well.
And getting back here, because we've already been talking for 15 minutes. It's crazy how time flies during these. Is there a game that you remember with the Explorers, as we're getting back to hometown living here for a couple of minutes, that sticks with you? Because I know I've heard of a few stories, and I don't know, I can't correlate them, but downpouring rains and all of this fun stuff. Is there one for you that you kind of look back on every once in a while?
Well, personally, probably the game that sticks out to me most, and that I'm most proud of personally, is a game. I forget who we were playing, but I was able to kick a 53 and a 55-yard field goal in a downpour rain, and that one probably for me is what I'm the most proud of. But team-wise, I think just getting to, we had some really really good teams, and my junior year, we were one game away from playing for the state championship, and we had to go up to somewhere north and play this team that was really, really good. And they had a guy we couldn't stop. But just the memories of going up there and just the first time really feeling that pressure and that excitement about, man, we're one game away from playing for a state championship. Those are the kind of things. It's nothing really particular that I remember, but just those general memories of just being with the team and feeling that excitement.
And on top of that too, just one more local question, because I got to ask some more for you about Coach Holtz. Is there a spot? Because I always ask everyone that I talk to from the area that's out of town, I ask them this question: if someone from Franklin, Tennessee goes, "Hey, Craig, I'm going to Alton tomorrow, and I need the go-to place to eat," where is it?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot.
I do.
Here.
This is only hard question I ask, Craig. Is this question alone?
It's been so long since I've been back for a long period of time. I can't really be super confident in this, but when I used to go back, we used to always go to Tony's.
Yep.
And get the pepper steak. And that was one of my favorites coming home, and we always used to try to go there.
You know what's funny is that's the go-to answers. It's Tony's, or we're going to Fast Eddie's and getting an Elwood. That's interesting. And I wanted to ask you a little bit more about your coaches, because I mentioned Coach Holtz, and I wanted to ask a little bit more, but you've had the opportunity to learn from and be coached by some of the most talented coaches at all levels. And how important is it, to retain that information and also adapt it to other coaches that you encounter along your journey? Because I'm sure not every coach feels the same way or thinks the same way during the game. But how is that differential factor of, all right, new coach, but this great information can't leave me. How can I blend it to fit the needs of all?
Well, I think the stuff that I learned at Notre Dame from Coach Holtz, he was very, very difficult to play for. Mm-hmm. And it was an awesome 4 years I had there, but he was very disciplined and very structured and very by the book. He was a motivator. And so the things that I learned from Coach Holtz kind of stayed with me throughout the NFL. And coaching in the NFL was a little bit different. Mm-hmm. They kind of let you do your job and didn't really, speak into you as much as a college coach would. So you really had to know your craft well. And again, like I said before, you had to know how to self-coach, because if something bad happened, they expected you to fix yourself. And so coaches in the pros seem to be a little bit less hands-on than my experience at Notre Dame. But the experiences at Notre Dame is what kept me in this league for as long as I was.
Absolutely. And then just going off of what you just said there, being a motivator, and because, I think those are the coaches that I love playing for the most. It might be a little bit more difficult, but that by the end of it, you're going to be better off than if you never started. And, what I think is so important is the skills that you learned, and you kind of hit on it earlier when we first started talking about the things that you've learned that kind of stuck with you throughout your career and then into life. How important is it for, any individual child or any youth to be involved in some type of team, and really gain that information of just, that moral compass, ethics, participation? How important is that in your opinion?
Well, I think it's vital, quite mm-hmm. honestly. I think without sports, who knows where I would be. And the experience that I had in sports made me the man that I am today. It made me someone who works well with others and someone who overcomes adversity and who sets goals and who achieves goals. And all these things that you learn in sports is really life. I mean, mm-hmm. life throws you curveballs, life throws you tough times. And those are the things you got to overcome to become a better person.
100%. And Craig, thank you so much for your time. I told you we'd be talking for 20 minutes, and for the first time in a while, I'm on the dot with it. But I got to ask one last one for me personally. What was the hardest thing for you to learn in punting? Was it, what I mean by that is, because I could never do the short punts and really just trying to, traject him and find the sidelines and all that. I just, punted high, punted far, and hope for the best and hope I didn't get killed by someone receiving it, Is there something that was a little bit more difficult for you to latch onto while you were developing your craft?
Well, starting off for me, because I just, again, like you, I just punted as high and as far as I could in high school. And then when I got to college, it was kind of the same thing, but a little bit more in the directional punting mode. But really, when I got to the pros, the thing that I really had to figure out and to get better at was directional punting. And in the NFL, you have a great return man every week that you're kicking to. And so they want you to limit these returns by kicking to corners of the field. And so I really had to learn the art of directional punting. And it's a difficult art if you've never really concentrated on it before, but there's ways to make it a lot easier. And that's what my program does.
Absolutely. And one final one on the program, you can go to Hentrich.com to find out more information and sign up today. Is there a certain set of weeks in this course, or does it progress with that individual and no time limit? It's just, month after month or week after week. I didn't know if there was a week course or if this was, we're just going to go do this together.
Yeah, and it's structured based on the person. But so for instance, the gentleman I'm working with now, we'll have an initial call of about an hour, and I'll explain to him the intricacies, go over step by step what the punting process is. In the next Zoom call or next video call, we're going to break down some film of his and give him some things to work on now that we speak the same language from the first Zoom call. And we're going to find out his progression from the first video to the second video breakdown. And that's where I think he's going to take the next step.
Really cool. And Craig, thank you so much. I know that you're busy, and to have you for a couple of minutes and chat, man, it was really great. Anytime you want to come back and give us an update, you're welcome. When you come into town next, we're going to Tony's.
I'd like it. That'd be good. Thank you.
Sounds good, sir. We'll take a quick pause here on RiverBender.